Hello everyone, this is Sahidul Haq. First of all, let me welcome all of you to the first online lecture series as we are facing a very difficult time in this pandemic. There is an urgent requirement to develop new mechanisms to engage students and teachers for smooth functioning of the university course curriculum. And that is why we are trying very hard. We are trying to develop new instruments so that we can do our work, we can carry out our educational program in a very smooth way. So here I welcome all of you to my first lecture series, and in which I am going to discuss structural linguistics from our postmodernism syllabus, which is I think the third topic of our first unit. Previously we have discussed few topics from the syllabus, and already you may have some basic understanding of what postmodernism is all about. Now today in this slide I am going to discuss the structural method given by Ferdinand Saussure, who was a Swiss linguist, a very popular, his name is very popular in the field of linguistics, as he is also known as the father of modern linguistics. I guess students from the department of linguistics, they are well familiar with this philosopher, with this thinker. Before that, in philosophy, we have also different kind of linguistic analysis developed by analytical philosopher, which came to known as analytic philosophical tradition. There are so many thinkers, philosophers who also use this tool to analyze the philosophical problems through the linguistic analysis. But when we come to Ferdinand Saussure's model of structural linguistics, so it gives a quite different version of structural analysis. It gives a very scientific and very comprehensive analysis to understand the linguistic structure in which we are constantly living, as we find ourselves within the linguistic structure. So it is very important, it becomes very significant to know, to grasp the essence of structural setup of our language, in which we understand everything, in which we get every meaning of each and every word. So here Saussure basically tries to describe how a linguistic structure actually works with different kind of words and patterns. So in this lecture I am going to I'm going to present few slides over here. It will hardly take 10 to 15 minutes. I hope you all will understand the essence of structural linguistics in a very nutshell, in a very comprehensive way. Okay, so let us start with the first slide. As Ferdinand Saussure, we know that he is known as the father of modern linguistics. He first introduced the structural method in the field of linguistics. So, as we know, under the umbrella of postmodernism, there are so many theories. Like we have structuralism, we have post-structuralism, even feminism and post-feminism, post-humanism are also what the recent development in philosophy that people and thinkers try to connect with the postmodern era or the postmodern discourse. So among them, structuralism is also a very popular uh, in contemporary time, as it is trying to describe the structural phenomena of our society. So, but before going to understand the structural phenomena of our society, we need to understand the origin of this method, which is actually we can trace back to the theory given by Ferdinand Saussure, but it is in the field of linguistics, so it is not in the field of anthropology and social sciences. So we must start it from the source, then we can move to the other version of structuralism. Okay, now Ferdinand Saussure he first proposed this singular linguistic structural method in his book A Course in General Linguistics, that is posthumously published in I think 1936 around. Okay, and where he actually discussed how the linguistic structures, how the elements of language actually work. So let us start with the first question: what is structural linguistics that he actually talking about? So we have some few points here. The idea that language is a systematic contrast and equivalence. Language consists of in a string of linguistic objects such as words, phonemes, morphemes, and each object earns its meaning to contrast of other objects in a linguistic system. Thirdly, in order to understand the social structural system, we have to first understand the key ideas and distinction between signifier, signified, and referent. Then second distinction, langue and parole. Third distinction, synchronic and diachronic. And fourth distinction, that is syntagmatic and paradigmatic. So that means before understanding the essence of structural method given by Saussure, we have to understand all this systematic distinction made by him. Unless and until we are not in a position to understand that, we will never understand what actually a foreign is talking in by his structural method. So let us start with the first point. See what he actually tries to mean in a linguistic structure. There are different terms, there are different elements which consist of words, phonemes and morphemes. So each and every words are different from each other. Okay. So now for understanding this pattern, we need to understand the first distinction, that is signifier, signified, and referent. Let us look over this slide. The first distinction between langue and parole. Saussure's central distinction is between langue and parole, where parole it consists of individual usages of language at particular times to make statements, ask questions, individual utterance, commands, etc. That means parole is the speech act. Okay, in its simplistic way, we can understand it by putting it like that. Parole is that which we actually use the particular word, the particular utterance in a linguistic structure, such as a single word, hi, hello, how. All these are particular utterance in a linguistic structure. These are the smallest part of the linguistic structure, which Saussure called as parole. And the second is langue. It is the underlying system, passively assimilated and not explicitly formulated by speakers. Langue makes all acts of speaking possible, intelligible, and meaningful. It is the systematic language shared by community. So now we need to understand that langue is the larger platform, is the larger structure in which all these particular act of speech, all these individual utterance that works. That means unless there is no langue, there is no linguistic structure, this particular utterance, that is parole, cannot have its own meaning. That means parole has meanings within the linguistic structure, which is known as langue. So langue is the structure. Okay. Saussure used the term langue to signify language as a system or structure. On the other hand, by parole he means any given utterance in that language. Suppose for example, let us take the Hindi linguistic structure. Okay, and suppose let us take the English linguistic structure. So each and every word has its own meaning within that linguistic structure. If you take one word from the English linguistic structure and then you put in the Hindi linguistics, it will lose its meaning. So it is like that a single utterance, a single individual speech, a single parole has its own meaning only in the structure which it belongs. So this is the main point. As far as another example we can take here, a particular remark in French, a sample of parole, only makes sense to you if you are already in possession of the whole body of rules and conventions governing verbal behavior, which we call French, the language, the langue or the French language structure. That means if you know or if you well familiar with the French linguistic structures and its rules, then you can understand what a particular French word actually means. So this is what Saussure tries to refer by this distinction. So here land and parole is the essential element of understanding a linguistic structure. And then let us come to the another distinction made by him, that is between signifier, signified and referent. Here he gave a threefold analysis of linguistic sign. A sign, that means a word, in which that means a sign consists of or composed of three different elements, which are signifier, signifying and referent. So what all are these? Signifier, it is the sound image of that what we talking about, the act of speech or utterance, the act of speech, what we actually talk in right now or at present. So that means basically it refers the sound image. Then secondly, signified, it is the concept of the thing of which we are talking about. This is the idea of our mind. So it is the concept of our mind. Whenever we are talking, whenever we say something, so at the same time we have certain kind of ideas, we have certain kind of concepts in our mind, which is related to the thing which we are saying. And then referent is that which is the actual real thing in the world is called referent. That means what we say, it has a concept in our mind, and then thirdly it has to refer some actual state, some actual thing in this world. Okay, so these are the three different elements that compose a sign. Okay, we can understand with this distinction with the that I try to use here. See, signifier is the sound image which we are talking. At the same time, if we utter the word tree, that we have a different kind of concept in our mind at the same time, that is the signifier. And at the same time, when we say tree, we actually the word refers some tree that exists in some place, or in wherever it exists, it actually exists. So there are three different elements. We can understand this distinction between this picture that I put it here. So the sign is tricidal psychological entity. One cannot exist without the other, otherwise it just could not be a sign. That means for having a sign, it should be composed of three elements which we are discussing now. But here Saussure says that the bond between the signifier and the signified is arbitrary. That means there is an arbitrary, unconventional relationship between the two. For Saussure, the meaning we give to words is purely arbitrary, and that these meanings are maintained by conventions only. Words, that is to say, are unmotivated signs, means that there is no inherent connection between a word and its designate. That means the signifier which we say and the signified, the concept and the relation between these two elements is not necessary or is not logical. That means it is our convention, that means it is our force, it is our arbitrary action that we can use any kind of word, any kind of parole to signify a different kind of phenomenon. So that means it refers the phenomenon that a word has no fixed meaning because it doesn't have any logical connection. It is our convention, it is my choice, it is my arbitrary force that I use a word to refer a multiple meaning. So it is not necessary. Now come to the another distinction between synchrony and diachrony. So these are the method of analysis, okay, in which we are applying, which we used to apply in the field of history, in the field of all other social sciences. Okay, then what synchrony actually means? Synchrony refers to a study of complete single linguistic system at a given time. Saussure's aim was to show that language can be studied synchronically and that this is the most illuminating way to explicit it. And on the other hand, a diachronic analysis is that it refers how the linguistic system develops over a period of time. So when it comes to diachronic, so it is the gradual, continuous develop or process or progress of our history. And when it comes to synchronic analysis, then we try to we try to create a specific time and a specific place in history, and then we try to analyze the phenomena, the factors, the governing rules from which different kind of language, from which different kind of words emerge. So we are not looking at the gradual or looking at the continuous transformation over a period of time, but we are analyzing the fact within a specific time, within a specific space, that is known as synchronic. So structural method especially is a synchronic method of analysis. It is not diachronic. Diachronic you can find in traditional historical analysis. Let us take an example. I'm trying to give an picture over here. See, in our linguistic structure there are so many words. So here I have a picture of the word K, which has and which had different meaning. Then it gradually transformed at different time to till now. So if we apply the structure analysis here, then we can specify it, we can locate it, the word K first in 90, which means zephyr, and then in 1950s it means that who is very smart, talkative, healthy, courageous, all this. Then again comes to in 75, there are kind of connections of religious ambiguities, religious denial, and different kind of controversies within that space and time. And then if we look into 1990s, then gradually it developed with different kind of meaning. That is like today we have a different kind of version of sexual orientation, like we have homosexuality, we have transgenders, we have lesbians. All these are different kind of uh, version of sexual orientation. So see, now the single word with a different specific time and era, it has a different kind of meaning. So this is what actually Saussure tries to understand, that a single word, it is not necessary that it must have only one single and fixed meaning. It can have a multiple meaning, and it is our arbitrary action that we are giving meaning to that word. So there is no logical and necessary connection that a tree always mean a tree. By using the word tree, I can also refer a different kind of phenomena. Okay, this is what actually Saussure tries to understand in his book, The Course in General Linguistics. Okay, then let us come to the final distinction made by him, that syntagmatic and paradigmatic. These are the shift. These are a shift in linguistic structure in language, how a quite or how a slight shifting of words or sequences can give a different kind of meaning to the same lecture, to the same sentence, to the same judgment, to the same sentence. So syntagmatic analysis can be used whenever the expressive act requires a series of signs. It can be a series of words in a statement or a series of shots in a film sequence, but often the same statement can give quite different meaning if the word order is or altered, or the same shots in a film can have different meanings if the order is reversed. For example, the wise person is temperate. So now, if we reverse the sentence, that temperate is the wise person. So see, we have a slight different meaning by changing the sequence of the word positions in the sentence. So this is the syntagmatic shifting in language. On the other hand, paradigmatic analysis examines the signs used in the expressive act against a background of possible alternatives in each position. For example, the wise person is temperate. Earlier in paradigmatic, we just try to shift, we just try to flip the sequences of sentence of words position. Now here in paradigmatic, we can use alternative verbs synonymously, use different word with other word, then it can give a different meaning. Like the wise person is temperate, so in here the wise person man, we can use person man is calm, intuitive, honest. So in place of temperate we can also use calm, intuitive and honest. So it is the alternatives of each and every word that is gives a different kind of meaning. So this is the paradigmatic shift in a linguistic structure. So here why are any of this interesting? So why these distinctions are seems to be very important for us. As far as Saussure concerns, the study of language is liable to belief. He stresses that language is structure, hereby language can be freed from associations by the social, cultural, political or historical. Practically, this approach to language means that the study of language by structural relations on the linguistic objects and its meanings can be grasped only through its contrast with other linguistic objects in the system. So here, in any linguistic structure, in different places, so it is not necessary that every word, every utter, every parole has a fixed and uh, single meaning. We can freed from it from the association, because from the different association, because a word has some political meaning that is given by us. A word, the same word has some emotional meaning, historical meaning that is also given by us. So we can freed from this association of language, and that is why he calls it that language is liable to belief. So it is our belief, it is our conventions that how you are going to use your language, how you are going to use the words in a linguistic system, and that is the way according to which a single word is going to give a meaning. It is depend on your choice, it is depend on your using of that word. And each and every word, the main and essential element that we can draw from the Saussurean analysis of language, that each and every word gets its meaning from different words. Just like the word cat is different from bat, the word bad is different from rat. So these are the different parrots which are at the same time different from each other, and which are at the same time refer to each other. So within this relation, the referent and deferent, we have that meaning. So it is flexible. It is not fixed. Unless and until there is no A, we cannot understand B. So there is a reciprocity, a reciprocal relationship between the linguistic entity. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all grasp the essence, principal elements of structural linguistics given by Saussure. I believe that I'm making sense to all of you through these little slides. If you have any doubt, any questions regarding this lecture on Saussure, I request you to join me through our WhatsApp group, through video conferencing and other telephonic medium also, whatever you wish. Here I also want to inform you that I have already uploaded all the study materials in two different portals. You can also go through the departmental web portal, or you can also join me on Google Classroom online class as Saidul Haq. Thank you so much.